My name is Jessica Parker, and I've spent 36 years in a family where divorce is treated like a moral failure and single motherhood is considered a tragedy. The Parker family is old-fashioned in every sense. Traditional values, conservative politics, and deeply held beliefs about how life should be lived. My parents, Richard and Margaret Parker, celebrated their 42nd wedding anniversary last year. My Aunt Carol and Uncle Dan have been married 38 years. My older cousin Jennifer married her high school sweetheart. My younger cousin Mark married at 23. Marriage was sacred in the Parker family. Divorce was unthinkable. Until I did the unthinkable. I married at 25 to a man named Brian Foster. We met in college, dated for 3 years, and married in a ceremony my family called perfect. Brian was charming, ambitious, and came from a good family. He worked in commercial real estate. I had just finished my MBA and was starting a corporate job. For 5 years it looked perfect from the outside. Nice house, good jobs, respectable lives. We had a daughter, Emma, when I was 29. The Parker family celebrated. I'd achieved their ideal. Husband, child, stability. What they didn't see was that my marriage was dying. Brian was controlling, dismissive of my career ambitions, and increasingly resentful of my success. When I mentioned wanting to pursue an entrepreneurial opportunity, he laughed. "You're a mother now, Jess. This fantasy about starting a business needs to stop. Focus on Emma and supporting my career." When Emma was 3, I filed for divorce. The marriage had become toxic and I refused to model a dysfunctional relationship for my daughter. My family was horrified. "Divorce," Mom said when I told her. "Jessica, you don't just give up on a marriage. You work through problems. You sacrifice. You commit." "I've tried for years, Mom. This isn't working." "What about Emma? You're destroying that little girl's family. I'm showing her that you don't have to stay in something unhealthy." The family judgment was swift and severe. I became the cautionary tale, the daughter who'd thrown away a good marriage, who'd chosen selfishness over commitment, who'd broken up her family. At the divorce hearing, Brian fought viciously for everything. But I fought harder. I got primary custody of Emma, kept the house, and walked away with enough assets to start over. What my family didn't know, what Brian and his lawyers also didn't know, was that during the last 2 years of my marriage, while working full-time at a marketing firm, I'd been building something in my garage. During my marriage's final years, I needed an escape. Something that was mine. Something Brian couldn't control or dismiss. I started developing software. I'd always been technical. Computer science minor in college, natural talent for coding. While working in marketing, I'd noticed a critical gap in the market. Small to medium-sized businesses needed sophisticated marketing automation tools, but existing solutions were either too expensive or too complicated. So I started building my own platform. Working after Emma went to bed, on weekends when Brian was golfing, in stolen hours whenever I could find them. I taught myself advanced programming, studied user experience design, and developed a marketing automation platform specifically designed for small businesses. I called it Launchpad Marketing. It was elegant, intuitive, and affordable. Everything businesses needed to manage email campaigns, social media scheduling, customer relationship management, and analytics. All in one platform for $99 a month instead of the $500 plus that enterprise solutions charged. I launched Launchpad 3 months before I filed for divorce. I had 17 paying customers when I left Brian. The revenue was $1,683 a month, barely covering my server cost. But it was mine. After the divorce, while my family pitted me and Brian told people I'd destroyed our family, I poured everything into building Launchpad. I worked my marketing job during the day, took care of Emma in the evenings, and coded until 2 a.m. every night. The platform started growing. Month 1 after divorce, 37 customers. Month 3, 84. Month 6, 212. By year 2, I had 1,500 customers and $148,500 in monthly recurring revenue. I quit my corporate job and went full-time on Launchpad, hiring my first employee, a developer who'd been contributing to the platform in his spare time. By year 3, we had 4,700 customers, 6 employees, and $467,000 in monthly recurring revenue. I was no longer building a side project. I was running a real company. But I still lived in my modest post-divorce house. Still drove my practical Honda SUV. Still showed up to occasional family gatherings in jeans and looking tired because I was working 100-hour weeks while solo parenting a young daughter. My family's narrative calcified. Jessica had thrown away a good marriage, was struggling as a single mom, and was stubbornly refusing to admit her mistake. "You could still fix this," Mom said at one family dinner. "Brian might take you back if you apologized." "I'm not apologizing for leaving a bad marriage, Mom. You're just too proud to admit you made a mistake. And now you're raising Emma alone, working constantly, looking exhausted. This is what your choice brought you." I stopped arguing. Let them believe what they wanted. I was too busy building a company to manage their perceptions. What they didn't see was that Launchpad was exploding. Year 4 brought us to 12,000 customers and $1.2 million in monthly recurring revenue. Year 5 hit 23,000 customers and $2.3 million monthly. We employed 47 people. I'd moved from my garage to actual office space, a modern building with my company logo on the glass doors. My personal wealth was growing substantially. As sole founder and owner, I own 100% of Launchpad Marketing. The company's valuation, based on our revenue and growth trajectory, was approximately $180 million. I was paying myself a salary of $220,000 annually, but my net worth on paper was in the tens of millions. I was successful beyond anything my family could comprehend. But I still showed up to family events looking like a tired divorced mom because I prioritized my daughter and my work over impressing relatives who'd already judged me. The breaking point came 6 weeks before the annual Parker family reunion. The family group chat lit up on a Tuesday evening while I was helping Emma with her homework. "Mom, important announcement. The Parker family reunion is Sunday, June 18th at Riverside Park. Same pavilion as always. Potluck lunch at noon. Aunt Carol, can't wait to see everyone. Cousin Jennifer will bring the kids. They're so excited. Cousin Mark, bringing my famous ribs." I started mentally planning what to bring, then noticed Mom was still typing. "Mom, we need to discuss something as a family before finalizing the guest list." My phone rang immediately. "Mom, of course. Jessica, we need to talk about the reunion." "Okay. Your Aunt Carol and I have been discussing this and we think it might be better if you skip this year." I stopped helping Emma with her math problem. "You're uninviting me from the family reunion?" "Not uninviting exactly. Just suggesting that maybe you'd be more comfortable sitting this one out." "Why would I be more comfortable?" Mom sighed heavily. "Jessica, you know why. Your divorce is still fresh in everyone's minds. The family is trying to maintain certain standards, certain values. Having you there, divorced, single, raising Emma alone, it sends the wrong message." "The wrong message about what?" "About our family. About what we stand for. Marriage, commitment, family stability. Your cousin Jennifer's in-laws are coming this year. The Hendersons, lovely family, very traditional. They've already expressed some concerns about family dynamics after hearing about your situation." "My situation being that I'm divorced." "Yes. And it's embarrassing, Jessica. I'm sorry to be blunt, but it is. We spent years celebrating your marriage and now we have to explain that it failed. That you gave up." "I didn't give up. I left a bad marriage." "That's your perspective. But to everyone else, you destroyed a family. You took Emma away from her father. You chose your pride over your commitments." Aunt Carol's voice came through in the background. Mom had me on speaker. "Jessica, honey, you have to understand. The family reunion is about showing unity, celebrating our family's values. Having you there, looking tired, single, struggling, it contradicts everything we're trying to represent." "I'm not struggling." "Of course you are," Mom replied. "You're a single mother working constantly trying to make ends meet. That's the definition of struggling. And it's sad, Jessica. Everyone will feel sorry for you and that will bring down the whole event. So you're uninviting me because my divorce is embarrassing to you. We're suggesting you skip this year to save face. For everyone. You, us, the whole family. Emma can still come, she's always welcome. Maybe Brian's mother can bring her. But you sitting there alone, divorced, no husband, no prospects. It's just too uncomfortable." I looked at Emma, bent over her math homework, completely unaware that her mother was being excluded from a family event for being divorced. "I need to go," I said calmly. "Emma needs help with homework." "So you understand? You'll sit this one out." "I understand perfectly, Mom." "Oh good. I knew you'd be reasonable. We'll do something together afterward, just us. Maybe lunch. After I hung up, Emma looked up. Who was that? Grandma. Planning the family reunion. Are we going? We'll see, sweetie. Finish problem 7. I walked to my home office and opened my laptop. In my inbox was an email I'd received yesterday from the Wall Street Journal. Subject: Profile request Launchpad marketing. Ms. Parker, the Wall Street Journal is doing a feature on bootstrap technology companies that have achieved remarkable growth without venture capital funding. Launchpad marketing's trajectory, from garage startup to $180 million valuation in 5 years, fits perfectly into our story. We'd like to profile you and your company for our Sunday, June 18th edition. The story would include your background, the technology, and your unique approach to building a sustainable business while solo parenting. Our photographer can shoot on location at your office and your home. Publication date would be Sunday, June 18th. Perfect timing as Q2 earnings season begins and investors are looking for the next wave of profitable software companies. Please let me know if you're interested in participating. Best regards, Sarah Mitchell, Senior Technology Reporter, The Wall Street Journal. June 18th. The same day as the family reunion I'd just been uninvited from. The universe had a sense of humor. I typed my reply: Sarah, I'd be honored to participate. Let's schedule interviews and photography. I'm available anytime this week or next. Over the next 3 weeks, I worked with the Wall Street Journal on one of the most comprehensive profiles of my career. Sarah Mitchell was a brilliant reporter who understood technology, business, and human interest stories. She spent 6 hours interviewing me about Launchpad's founding, my divorce, solo parenting while building a company, and the deliberate choices I'd made to bootstrap rather than seek venture capital. Most founders in your position would have raised money, Sarah noted during one interview. Why didn't you? Control, I replied simply. I just left a marriage where I had no control. I wanted to build something that was entirely mine. Taking venture capital means giving up ownership, giving up control. I wasn't willing to do that. Even if it meant slower growth? Our growth hasn't been slow. We've grown sustainably, profitably, and on our own terms. That's more valuable to me than rapid scaling with someone else's money. The photographer spent a full day at our office, capturing me with my team at my desk in meetings. Then he came to my house and took photos of me working in my garage, the original birthplace of Launchpad, and with Emma. These photos will be powerful, he said. Divorced mom, garage startup, now running a company worth nearly $200 million. That's the American dream right there. I didn't tell my family about the article. What would be the point? They'd already decided I was a struggling divorced mom. They wouldn't believe I'd built something extraordinary. The week before the reunion, Sarah sent me a preview of the article. The headline made me smile. Divorced mom builds $180 million empire from garage startup. How Jessica Parker created Launchpad marketing while solo parenting and defying conventional wisdom. The article was extensive. Over 3,000 words covering my background, my marriage and divorce, the founding of Launchpad, our growth trajectory, my parenting philosophy, and my thoughts on bootstrapped businesses versus venture-backed startups. It was fair, well-researched, and positioned me as exactly what I was. A successful entrepreneur who'd built something remarkable under difficult circumstances. Publication is Sunday, June 18th, Sarah wrote. Online edition goes live at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Print edition hits newsstands by 8 a.m. This will be featured prominently, probably front page of the business section, possibly a call-out on page 1. Prepare for significant attention. Sunday, June 18th. While my family ate potato salad at Riverside Park and celebrated their traditional values, the Wall Street Journal would be telling the world about my $180 million company. The Friday before the reunion, Mom called. Just confirming you're not coming Sunday, right? I won't be at the reunion, Mom. Good. It's really for the best. Jennifer's in-laws are looking forward to meeting the family, and this way we can present ourselves properly. I'm sure it will be lovely. You're not upset? I'm not upset. Good. Because Jessica, one day you'll understand. Family image matters. Reputation matters. We can't just ignore your choices and pretend everything's fine. You're right, Mom. Choices have consequences. Exactly. I'm glad you're finally seeing reason. After she hung up, I sat Emma down. Sweetie, about the family reunion Sunday. I know, she said, looking sad. Grandma said I can come, but you can't because of the divorce. How do you feel about that? Emma, my brilliant 8-year-old, looked at me seriously. I think it's mean. To my mom. Why would family not want you there? Sometimes grown-ups make decisions that don't make sense. But I have a different plan for Sunday. How would you like to skip the reunion and come with me to do something special? Her face brightened. What? It's a surprise. But I promise it will be more fun than a family reunion where half the people are judging us. Can we get ice cream? Definitely. Sunday, June 18th arrived with perfect summer weather. At 6 a.m., the Wall Street Journal's online edition published my profile. By 6:30, my phone was exploding with notifications. Text messages from business contacts, emails from customers, LinkedIn notifications, Twitter mentions. The article was being shared rapidly across technology and business networks. By 8 a.m., when the print edition hit newsstands, the profile had been shared over 5,000 times on social media. By 10 a.m. it was trending on Twitter under #GarageToEmpire. Emma and I spent the morning at the park. Not Riverside Park where the reunion was happening, but a different park across town where we fed ducks and enjoyed the sunshine. My phone kept buzzing, but I ignored it except to take one photo of Emma by the pond. I posted it to my personal Facebook with the caption, "Perfect Sunday with my amazing daughter." I didn't mention the Wall Street Journal article. I didn't need to, it was finding its way to everyone who mattered. Around noon, when my family was gathering at Riverside Park for their potluck reunion, my phone started ringing with calls from family members. The first was from my cousin Mark. "Jessica. Oh my God. The Wall Street Journal? You own a company worth $180 million? I do. But we thought you were struggling. You never said anything." "Nobody asked, Mark." He was silent for a moment. "I'm at the reunion. People are reading the article on their phones. And Carol just saw it. Jessica, everyone is freaking out." "Are they? Your mom is. I've never seen her like this." He's crying. "She keeps saying she didn't know. People are asking why you're not here." "I wasn't invited, remember? The family voted to exclude me to save face after my divorce. That was before we knew. Jessica, this changes everything." "Does it, Mark?" "What? I'm the same person I was yesterday, last week, last month. The only thing that changed is you read an article. But you're successful. Extraordinarily successful. You built a company that's worth almost $200 million. I was successful when you excluded me too. You just couldn't see it because I was divorced." My cousin Jennifer called next. "Jessica, I'm reading this article and I'm in shock. You're a tech CEO? Since when?" "Since 5 years ago when I founded the company. Remember? After my divorce, when everyone said I'd destroyed my life. But you never told us. Would you have believed me? If I'd shown up at a family dinner and said, 'I'm building a multi-million-dollar software company,' would you have taken me seriously? Or would you have thought I was delusional?" She was quiet. "Probably the second one." "Exactly. So I stopped talking about it and just built it." Jennifer's in-laws are here. The Hendersons. They just read the article. Mrs. Henderson said, "Isn't Jessica the divorced daughter you didn't invite?" Jennifer looks like she wants to die. That's unfortunate for Jennifer. "Jessica, please. Can you come to the reunion? People want to meet you. They want to apologize. I'm spending the day with my daughter. You know, the daughter I'm raising alone because I made the embarrassing choice to leave a bad marriage. We were wrong. We were so wrong." "Yes, you were. But I'm not interested in showing up so everyone can suddenly pretend they supported me all along. Enjoy your reunion, Jennifer." I hung up and turned my phone to airplane mode. Emma and I got ice cream, her choice, chocolate with sprinkles, and spent the afternoon at a bookstore where I let her pick out whatever books she wanted. Around 4 p.m. I turned my phone back on. 237 messages. 63 missed calls. "Mom. Jessica, we need to talk immediately. Why didn't you tell us about your company?" "Aunt Carol, I'm horrified at what we did. Please call me. Cousin Mark. Everyone at the reunion wants to meet you. Can you please come?" Unknown number. "Ms. Parker, this is Richard Henderson. We met briefly at your cousin's wedding. I'm a venture capitalist and I'm very interested in discussing Launchpad's growth strategy. Could we schedule a call?" Unknown number. "Jessica, this is Brian. I saw the Wall Street Journal article. We need to talk about Emma's custody arrangement and child support. Clearly your financial situation has changed. I deleted Brian's message without responding. Then I saw a text from my daughter's perspective that made everything worth it. Emma's teacher, Ms. Rodriguez Jessica, just saw the Wall Street Journal article. I'm showing it to my entrepreneurship class tomorrow as an example of perseverance and building success on your own terms. Emma should be so proud of her mom. That evening after Emma went to bed, I finally called my mother. Jessica. Her voice was thick like she'd been crying. Why didn't you tell us? Because you didn't want to hear it, Mom. You'd already decided I was a failure because I got divorced. Nothing I said would have changed your perception. We would have listened. Would you? When I mentioned starting a business, you told me I was being foolish. When I said I was working on a project, you said I should focus on finding a new husband. When I showed up at family events looking tired, you assumed I was struggling, not succeeding. But you own a company worth $180 million. I did own that company when you uninvited me from the reunion. My success didn't begin this morning when the article published. It's been building for 5 years. You just refused to see it. Silence. The Hendersons saw the article, Mom said quietly. Jennifer is mortified. They asked why you weren't at the reunion and Jennifer had to explain that we excluded you. Because my divorce was embarrassing. Yes. And now we're the ones who are embarrassed. Everyone at the reunion saw that article. Everyone knows we excluded you. People are looking at us like we failed as a family. You did fail, Mom. You valued appearances over reality. You cared more about what Jennifer's in-laws thought than about supporting your daughter who was building something extraordinary while solo parenting. I know. God, Jessica, I know. And I'm so sorry. Over the next week, the Wall Street Journal article's impact expanded far beyond my family's embarrassment. Launchpad Marketing received over 3,000 inquiries from potential customers. Our website traffic increased by 2,000%. We signed 417 new customers in 7 days. More than we typically signed in a month. I received dozens of speaking invitations, interview requests from other major publications, and calls from venture capitalists who'd previously ignored us. The most satisfying message came from Brian's attorney, Michael Chinescu. Ms. Parker, regarding Brian Foster's request to renegotiate custody and support arrangements. After reviewing your financial situation and the favorable custody arrangement you already have, Mr. Foster has decided to withdraw his request. He acknowledges your current arrangements are appropriate. Translation. Brian's lawyer told him that trying to go after more money from me would make him look terrible publicly and he'd likely lose. My family's reckoning was more complicated. Jennifer called, genuinely tearful. Jessica, the Hendersons have been cold to me ever since the reunion. Mrs. Henderson told me that excluding successful family members because of divorce shows profound misjudgment. She's questioning whether our family has the values she wants her grandchildren associated with. That's unfortunate. Please. Can you meet with them? Just coffee? If they met you, saw how accomplished you are, it would help repair things. Jennifer, I'm not going to help repair your reputation with your in-laws. You excluded me to impress them. Now deal with the consequences. I was wrong. We were all wrong. Yes, you were. But I'm not a prop you can use to rehabilitate your image. Cousin Mark took a different approach. He showed up at my office unannounced 3 days after the article published. Jessica, I know I don't deserve your time, but I need to apologize in person. I let him into my office. The corner suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown, the space that represented everything I'd built. I'm sorry, he said simply. I voted to exclude you from the reunion. I thought your divorce was shameful. I was wrong about all of it. Why are you here, Mark? To apologize. And to learn. I run a small business, you know that. Landscaping company, 20 employees. I'm trying to grow but I'm stuck. Could you give me some advice? As someone who actually knows how to build something. It was the first genuine request for help rather than for image rehabilitation. What's your biggest challenge? I asked. Cash flow. I'm profitable but I can't expand because I'm always barely keeping up with expenses. We talked for an hour. I gave him real advice about cash management, strategic growth, and building systems that scale. He took notes, asked smart questions, and genuinely listened. Thank you, he said as he left. And Jessica? Emma's lucky to have you as her mom. I'm sorry we made you feel otherwise. 3 months after the Wall Street Journal article, Launchpad marketing hit a major milestone. 30,000 customers and $3 million in monthly recurring revenue. Our valuation increased to $225 million. I was approached by 3 different private equity firms interested in acquisition. I turned them all down. Launchpad was mine, built on my terms, successful because I'd maintained control. My relationship with my family slowly, painfully began to rebuild. Mom and I had lunch once a month. Real conversations, not performances. She started asking genuine questions about my work, about Emma, about my life. She stopped offering to set me up with nice men who could provide stability, and started asking about my business challenges and celebrating our wins. I've been thinking a lot about what I said to you, Mom told me at one lunch. About needing to save face. About your divorce being embarrassing. I was measuring your life by the wrong metrics. You were measuring by the only metrics you understood. But that's not an excuse. I'm your mother. I should have tried harder to understand. I should have asked what you were building instead of assuming you were failing. You're asking now. That's what matters. Dad took longer to come around. He'd been raised in a generation where divorce was failure, period. But even he started softening after Emma's birthday party, where he watched me interact with my team members who'd come to celebrate. Your employees really respect you, he said, surprised. I hope so. I work hard to create a good company culture. And you built all this yourself? With an amazing team, yes. He nodded slowly. I'm sorry, Jessica. For judging you. For not seeing what you were accomplishing. The most significant change came at the next Parker family reunion. 1 year after I'd been excluded. The invitation came via text from Mom. Jessica, next year's reunion is June 17th. We would be honored if you and Emma would attend. No requirements, no judgments. Just family who wants to celebrate you properly this time. Emma and I attended. This time nobody pitied me. Nobody whispered about my divorce. Instead, younger cousins asked about starting businesses. Aunts asked about balancing work and motherhood. Uncles asked about technology and growth strategies. Mrs. Henderson, Jennifer's mother-in-law, pulled me aside. Miss Parker, I owe you an apology. When I heard your family excluded you from last year's reunion due to your divorce, I judged them harshly. But I should have also questioned why I didn't ask about you, about your story. I'd accepted their narrative without curiosity. Thank you for saying that. My granddaughter is 8, Emma's age. I'd like her to know your story. To understand that success can come from unconventional paths, and that divorce isn't failure. Sometimes it's the courageous choice that makes everything else possible. That evening, as the reunion wound down, Emma tugged my sleeve. Mom, everyone's being nice to us now. Why? Because sometimes people need proof before they can see what was always there. That's silly. You were always you. You're right, sweetie. It is silly. But that's how some people are. I'm glad you're my mom. Even if you're divorced. I hugged her. Me too, baby. Me too. 2 years after the Wall Street Journal article, I was invited to speak at a conference for women entrepreneurs. 5,000 attendees. I gave a keynote about building bootstrapped companies, solo parenting while founding a business, and not letting others' definitions of success dictate your path. 5 years ago, I told the audience, my family uninvited me from a reunion because my divorce was embarrassing. They thought I was struggling, failing, barely keeping my head above water. That same day, the Wall Street Journal published an article about the $180 million company I'd built from my garage. The audience laughed. But here's the thing. I didn't build Launchpad marketing to prove my family wrong. I built it because I needed something that was mine. Because I wanted to create value. Because I saw a problem and developed a solution. Their perception was never the goal. The work itself was the goal. Your family's opinion doesn't define your success. Your divorce doesn't define your worth. Your circumstances don't limit your potential. You define those things through the choices you make and the work you do. Build something that matters. Do it on your terms. And let the results speak for themselves. The audience gave me a standing ovation. After my talk, dozens of women approached with their own stories of being underestimated, dismissed, or excluded. That evening, I received a text from Mom. Mom, watched your keynote online. I cried through the whole thing. Not because I was sad, but because I was proud. And ashamed that it took me so long to see you clearly. You're extraordinary, Jessica. You always were. I'm sorry I couldn't see it until the world showed me. I responded, thank you, Mom. That means everything. The truth is, I'd forgiven my family long before that message. Not because they deserved forgiveness, but because holding on to hurt was exhausting and pointless. They'd excluded me to save face, measuring my worth by my marital status rather than my actual achievements. They'd been wrong, painfully and publicly wrong. But in being wrong, they'd given me something valuable. The freedom to build without their judgment, to succeed without their expectations, to define success on my own terms. That family reunion I'd been excluded from, that moment when Mom said I was embarrassing and needed to stay away, had been a gift. It forced me to stop seeking their validation and focus entirely on the work. And the work had been extraordinary. Launchpad marketing. 35,000 customers. $3.4 million monthly recurring revenue. 257 employees. $270 million valuation. Built from a garage while solo parenting and defying every expectation. That's real success. Everything else is just noise.